Let me catch people up if they are totally new to the controversy and then get into why Aaron was forced out of the Aftermath Foundation, which is dedicated to helping people transition out of Scientology into normal life. Essentially what happened is that the claim is Aaron violated one of the code of conduct rules. And as Aaron has recently responded to a letter saying he violated these codes, is that these codes were basically drawn up very recently, specifically to provide a legalistic mechanism to get rid of him. But the real problem here is they just want to silence him. So let me let Aaron speak and he'll clarify.
And say, don't criticize your fellow board members. It says you cannot publicly criticize any person or organization who is engaged in charitable activities similar to those of the Aftermath Foundation. Now, this could be very easily, not even loosely interpreted, easily interpreted as you can't criticize former Scientologists who help people who leave Scientology. You can't criticize former Scientologists who support the Aftermath Foundation. You can't criticize anyone who's ever donated to the Aftermath Foundation. You can't criticize anyone who's even so much as posted on Facebook in support of the Aftermath Foundation. I won't rehash it. I said it in my first video. I gave examples of people I have very rightly criticized on my channel that, based on this new code of conduct, I would be prohibited from doing. Okay.
Well, as he says, that this code of conduct is pretty broad. The people who are being hostile to Aaron are Marc and Claire Headley, who are married, and Mark Rinder. Now, I don't want to just badmouth them. They've done a lot of good work. They've done a lot of good work in terms of speaking out about Scientology and helping victims and providing some pretty critical information of how the Sea Org, which is kind of this elite organization in Scientology, operates. But I do think, like others, this shows a kind of dark side of being in the Sea Org. And I want to concentrate on Mark Rinder specifically. So Mark Rinder essentially worked in media relations for the Sea Org for a long time under David Miscavige, and he left Scientology around 2007. I don't want to diminish what Mark Rinder has suffered. He suffered a lot. He was in this thing called The Hole, was essentially a torture camp for several years. So I don't want to diminish that he's suffered quite a lot. However, when he left the Sea Org, and he left quite a lot, he left a family, left behind a whole career, he had to start over. But he stayed quiet. He wasn't publicly criticizing Scientology. But in 2009, a journalist visited him. He did not say anything to the journalist, but of course David Miscavige was aware. They sent people after him. So it seems that he made a decision to become a public critic of Scientology. He began speaking out, and he made it his career to become a public critic. And again, given the situation, you can understand his motivations. I think what is very alarming and tricky about this is two things. One, the way they're kind of painting Aaron as monopolizing power and not helping out others. Again, that does just not conform to what the channel is doing. It actually promoted Mark Rinder's YouTube channel. Secondly, Aaron very publicly asked for donations to help with Mark Rinder's medical bills because he recently is suffering from cancer and he just is, I guess, struggling with his medical bills. Even though Mike is from Australia, but apparently he's in America now, and the American healthcare system. And I don't want to get too much into the politics of it, but it is very profit driven, very profit motivated. So the insurance companies and just the way the hospitals are set up, they're driven by making profits, not helping people. And I think the most alarming thing is just a couple weeks ago. This is not ancient history. He was in a fundraiser with Mike. He was right there. And so it just seems that from a very neutral perspective, they basically just used and abused him. They got what they could from him, promoting their own YouTube channels, promoting their own efforts, and got enough in terms of donations. They probably figured, well, we're not going to get any more donations from his subscribers, his fans. Okay, it's time to let him go. And they're using this video he made about a lawyer to say he violated the code of conduct. Well, you violated the code of conduct, therefore you have to be off the foundation, and that's all there is to it. So they're legally entitled to get rid of him. But as he says, the real reason is he's being too critical of other people who, yes, they're anti-Scientologists, but he doesn't like how they're operating. He has his own way of doing the channel in terms of criticizing David Miscavige. Again, I don't agree with Aaron all the time. I have my own criticisms of how he frames certain controversies, but I don't think you can deny he's being very sincere in his criticisms. But he's being very sincere, and I think that Claire, Mark, and Mark Rinder in particular wanted to find a way to silence him, but do it quietly, because if he just said out loud, yeah, we don't want to be criticized at all. If you're with us, you don't criticize us, you don't criticize our friends, you don't criticize anything going on our side of the table. And Aaron is like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to speak out if I think I should speak out. If this is a problem, let's try to handle this civilly in private, but apparently they made a decision, no, we're going to go public. So they did character assassinations saying he was a liar, and the letters pointed these police incidents, which Aaron has spoken about publicly. It does feel not entirely like Scientology, but it's very close to it, that they're doing character assassination. They're trying to basically find him guilty, but then when asked, well, what is he lying about? They're not specifying and saying, well, you're a bunch of keyboard warriors. We're not here to talk about drama. Let's get back to being anti-Scientologists, but stop asking questions. So I think it's really alarming, not just in terms of the Aftermath Foundation, but just that they expect to be given deference and we just believe them and don't ask any harsh questions, which is not identical to Scientology, but I do think, unfortunately, Mike Rinder only disagreed with Scientology's abuse of him and abusing others, but he's not really against the way authoritarianism works with Scientology. Apparently that part of it he is okay with and never really disagreed with that part of it, unfortunately.
How bad it would make them look to, one, reveal my personal private information, or two, to reveal to all of you that what they're holding against me is things I've done in my own personal private life based on my own familial and marital situation that have nothing to do with the Aftermath Foundation.